Okay, we're scheduled here for 20 minutes with the student athletes from Pittsburgh. Again, reminder, raise your hand. Let us know who you're affiliated with, your name. Wait for the handheld mic. And reminder that recording the press conference on cell phones or cameras is prohibited. And we will start with our first question on the aisle.
Chris Carter, Pittsburgh Post-Gazette. Jamari, this Xavier team plays a lot different than the last two teams you guys have played. But as you said before, playing in the ACC, you guys are used to playing different teams. How do you guys switch from playing a team that plays at a different pace and against now one of the best three-point shooting teams in the country?
Yeah, definitely. Like you said, they're one of the best three-point shooting teams in the country percentage-wise. They have a lot of different guys who can shoot the basketball, so there's going to be, some guys that we're going to have to respect on the floor as opposed to other opponents.
Alex Randall, Pitt Student Radio. I asked this question to Nelly in the locker room yesterday, but this is a time of year where areas of the country are learning about teams that they haven't known about all year long. What do you want the national audience that's going to watch you guys on CBS tomorrow, what do you want those guys to know about this team?
We'll start from right to left. Blake?
We really want to win, and we're just a humble and hungry group.
Nike?
I would say we just, play hard. We come out and we're going to compete every day in every possession, and we ultimately want to win every game we play in.
Jamarius?
And I would just say that for our group, we're just connected, and you can see that connectivity on the floor with our tight huddles, the way we interact with each other, and, our just competitive spirit from coaching staff down.
Middle of the room.
Jim Hammett, PantherLair.com. Guys, do you feel that playing on Tuesday sort of kind of gave you guys a leg up tomorrow and kind of allowed you to get off to that 22-2 start?
Jamarius?
I would just say for us, it just allowed us to get our feet wet in this tournament. It allowed us to get comfortable, with what's going to be going down as far as, one game happening from Tuesday and, having to travel. So it's something that we've been able to pick up on, and it's helped us, definitely.
Nike?
Yes, I would say it definitely helped us. Playing Tuesday, we got our, like Jamari said, we got our feet wet. We was able to, go out and compete and come out with a win. So I feel like it definitely helped us for these last games. For sure.
Blake?
For sure, felt the same exact way. I was very thankful for the playing game, being able to playing against a really good team at that, and really got, your feet wet, just like Jamari said.
Chris Carter, Post-Gazette. This is for all the guys. You guys haven't, since you guys started tournament play, you guys haven't made more than 10 three-pointers in a game yet, and that was really a big part of a lot of you guys' biggest wins this season. Is that a hidden element you think that is ready to burst out, or how do you see that factoring in just the way that you guys have won so far?
Yeah, for us, we feel like we haven't even played our best basketball yet, and that's a big component of the way we play, and we've been playing all season is, being able to be dominant from the three-point line. And, we got some marksmen that haven't really got it going yet, but we look forward to, those three balls going down in the near future.
Nike?
I think it just shows our versatility. We're a very versatile group. We like he said, we had some marksmen that hasn't been able to get hot yet, but it shows that we can still get wins and still fight without making those shots and without making 10 plus 12 threes a game. So it just shows our versatility.
Blake?
Right. I think it shows a lot about our versatility as well. Teams are going to play us how they play us. They know the same things you guys know. You know what I mean? So they're going to try their best to stop that. So being able to be versatile, switch it up, and still win is what's big to me.
Middle of the room.
Jim Hammett, PantherLair.com. In that second half, Nelly came up and he had the first 6 points of the second half. He's been hitting a lot of big shots in both these games. How important has he been, and what's his demeanor like on the court in these games?
Jamarius?
Yeah, I would just say Nelly's a competitor. When he comes into the game aggressive, we feed off his energy. And, he started off the half last game on a roll, and we definitely fed off that energy and was able to keep it going.
Nike?
I would say the same thing, man. He's a dog. He's gonna come out. He's gonna fight. He's been here before. He's been in a tournament before. He knows how it feels to make big shots. So he's been doing his thing, and we look forward to continue to keep it going.
Blake?
Yeah, dog. is all about. He's all from Pittsburgh, all about what Pittsburgh represents, man. Just real doggish dude, and that's just we feed off that. He one of us, yeah.
To our left.
Hey guys, Steve Reed from the Associated Press. As one of the other guys saying, it's the first time for a lot of people around the country seeing teams and really getting a close look at guys. When people see the Diaz-Graham brothers, they look and they see two 7-foot guys that look exactly the same haircut, wiry frame. I'm just can you tell us a little bit about them, and do you guys ever mistake them for each other, or do you guys kind of know right away?
I mean, I would say at first, it took us some time to, figure out which one was which. But at first it started with, we know one of them was wearing a different pair of shoes. But, as we got to know them and, be around them more, we've been able to, pick them apart. And just speak a little bit about them. They're fearless, and you can kind of see that with their play on the floor.
Nike.
Man, yeah, them they're the Twin Towers, man. It definitely was a tough distinction trying to figure them out, early in the season, like figuring them out, like what's the difference between them. But man, they fearless. They gonna fight. We love them. We embrace them, man. Jorge's actually my roommate, so I actually had some close talks and good talks with him, and got to actually learn about him more. He from Spain. He tells me stuff about how he lived over there. How it was. Man, they just a really good people, and they love to play this game. They love the game, man, for sure.
Blake.
I want to point out what JB said about them being fearless. I mean, they're clearly talented, but what makes them come in these games and produce is the fearlessness. And as much as I would love to take credit for that, we found them like that. So that's just great. I mean, we found a little piece of us all the way in Spain. So like,
For sure.
like it's really good credit. I mean, a lot of credit to them, but I think there's a lot more that they got to show y'all.
Back of the room.
Alex Randall, Pitt Radio again. Speaking of the Diaz-Graham twins, Jeff has talked all year long about how you guys have encouraged them, you guys have built them up. What has it been like? Talk about the pride you guys feel when you see a game like yesterday in which Guillermo goes off, Jorge gets him a great pass for a dunk. How are you guys feeling when you see that on the court?
I mean, for me, it just, brings so much joy to my face, because I see them each and every day in the gym putting in the work. And when you see hard work pays off, it just brings a level of excitement, for me and the group.
Nike.
Yeah, I agree, man. They work their tails off. They stay in the gym. I think anytime they got a connectivity with each other and with our group, man. They just play so fearless and man, it's amazing having them playing with us. And we put the battery in their backs too. When they put their heads down, when they sometimes they put their heads down, we pick them up like, come on, let's go, man. You got it. So. They're really good players. They're very talented, and I think they got a lot to show as well.
Blake.
Yeah, just like JB said again, it really makes you smile and appreciate what hard work does, because they're really basketball guys. Like, freshmen in college, you would expect partying and all that. But if I'm being honest now, I'm thinking that I haven't heard one of those stories from them all year.
Yeah.
So the only thing I know about them is they're always in the gym, and I know they can play with each other with their eyes on a blindfold. So like, they're really good. They're really all about basketball, and that type of stuff shows when they get their opportunity.
Back left.
Richie Schmahowski from the Pitt News. Obviously, having Federico back yesterday, it seemed like it helped to take some of the stress off of Guillermo for as good as he's been playing. But just as a team, what does it mean to have him back, and what sort of spark does he provide to the lineup?
Yeah, I mean, it means a lot. We wouldn't be here without Federico. He's been our anchor all year. And for us, it just, it brings a level of joy to see him back there on the floor with us. And, he does so many things that don't show up on the stat sheet. And, just having him out there again yesterday was big.
Nike.
Man, I agree, man. Fetty, he's a force. Obviously everybody knows he's been dealing with the injury. So, you know, to get him back on the floor, man, it shows a testament to his character and who he is as a person, man. He, you know, persevered through that and was able to come out and impact the game at a very high level. And like Jamarius said, we wouldn't be here without Fetty. So he's been great for us all year for sure.
Blake?
I'm going to be the third person to say it. We wouldn't be here without Federico. And just like Nike said, it really shows his character to want to still go out here and play. I mean, he's done amazing things this year. He can really just sit down and be like, I did it, you know what I mean? But, like, even in practice, we're like, Fetty, you can sit down. And he's like, no, I want to do it. It's like, no, you need to sit down. So he wants to play in practice games. He wants to do walkthroughs. He still wants to do everything. So we're trying to protect him from himself. Like, he really, really, really wants to be out there with us, and we see it. And what the fans did for him was really appropriate.
Back of the room?
Amanda Gotzi, Johnstown Tribune Democrat. I noticed last night in Nelly's postgame interview, he used the phrase humble and hungry. Then I saw in the locker room last night, it was written on the whiteboard, humble and hungry, 1-0. Has that become a mantra for you guys, and when did you sort of adopt it?
Yeah, I mean, we've had that mantra all year. You know, Coach makes sure that we stay even keel even when we have success, and that's where the humble and hungry comes from.
Yeah, that's definitely something we preached on all year. Coach stayed in our ear about, you know, staying, like he said, even keel through all the highs and the lows that we went through all season. You know, keeping our eyes on the prize and just really staying in the moment, man, staying in, locking in on taking that next step. He always talks about, you know, just taking the next necessary step, not thinking, you know, too far ahead or thinking, you know, 2 games ahead, man. We just trying to, you know, attack the day and attack the next game for sure.
Blake?
Yeah, humble and hungry, just like we said, is what we want to stay on. But 1-0 is what I want to speak on. We're always trying to be 1-0 every day. I mean, of course, on game day, but like 1-0, like even today in practice, we trying to win that day. And then when we get to the game, we trying to be 1-0. We're not thinking about anything else forward. We're thinking about the next step in front of us.
Front of me on the aisle?
Chris Carter, Post-Gazette. Blake, Xavier's head coach and Pitt alum Sean Miller called you an X factor for this team. Do you feel like you're an X factor you're the X factor for the team? And what does that mean when you hear an opposing coach? You know, he talked about the importance of making sure that you are a big part of their game plan.
I mean, I'm a piece of the puzzle. That's all I can say. You can call it whatever type of factor, S, X, L factor, whatever you want to call it. I mean, I appreciate the compliment, though, but I'm just a piece of the puzzle, man. I work well with these guys. I've been on 3 different teams. I've never been called the X factor. You know what I mean? So, like, I work well with these guys. That's what I would call it.
Alex Randall, Pitt Radio. I wanted to ask you guys about the more off-court relationships you guys have with this team. You see warming up, Blake, you and KJ with your little football move, and then you're running off the court with a lot of joy. Seeing you guys in the locker room, it's very clear this group likes being around each other. Talk about how that was cultivated this year and what that means to you guys as you progress through this tournament.
Blake?
I don't know. I think that's the special part about it, though. Just like I said, I really think Jorge and Guillermo is a lot like us, and they're from the other side of the planet. And like, he's from Indy. I'm cool with him. We ain't never got, we sit right next to him in the locker room. We ain't never had no problems. JB, he's probably the only Southern dude on the team besides me. And the whole locker room just gels. And I don't know what that is. I think that's just God's plan.
Mikey?
I'll give credit to the coaches, man. They did a great job, you know, putting this group together. And it's just crazy, man. Like he said, you know, we really it's really like natural for us, man. We really never had no problems as a unit. We all gel together. We're close. We all really like each other, man, and we stick together. You know, we fight together, and we're locked in for sure.
And then for me, I would just say that, you know, this group does a great job with communicating with one another. You know, through the ups and downs, we're always, you know, not afraid to have those tough conversations, those tough team meetings, and really, you know, laying our hearts on the table, you know, for one another. And I think that's been key for us, you know, staying together all season long.
Back of the room?
Hey guys, Corey Chris at DK Pittsburgh Sports. Nike, this is for you. I was just talking to Greg in the locker room. He said he called the Fairleigh Dickinson upset over Purdue. I just need to know, because he told me to specifically ask you. I just need to know if it's true, number one. Number two, if he called it before the game started.
You
And then,
pulling
in a
LeBron.
general sense, and then in a general sense, how much have you guys been able to watch the rest of the tournament that's going on?
Yeah. Greg actually did call that out. He did. We both did. We knew it was going to be a good game. We knew because we played Fairleigh Dickinson. We know they got really good guards, and they play like a good 5-out offense. So we knew it was going to be, an interesting game with Purdue's, big man that they had. So yeah, he did call it out, man. And it's crazy that was a huge upset, man. That was a crazy game. And as far as the rest of the tournament, man, I think it's exciting. It just shows a lot of great teams in this conference. To make it to continue to play in March, man. It just shows that all these teams are good.
Any other questions? Fourth row.
Blake, I noticed whenever he was asking that question, you kind of rolled your eyes about Greg's prediction. Do you have any rebuttal on that?
I don't. I mean, to be totally honest with you, I remember playing him. I remember being challenged for sure. I wasn't there when he predicted this. I figured I would be around when that happened, so I guess I wasn't. But now I'm gonna end on this statement. If I was to see the video of the coach saying I want Purdue to see this, I didn't see that video before the game. If I was to see that, I probably would have predicted it too, because that's a lot of confidence. So, shout out to them. Both programs. That was a great game, and that was a great win.
Anyone else? Okay, thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Good job. Yes, sir. I'm from Charlotte. Oh, okay. Good job, man.
Reminder, the Pittsburgh locker room is still open. It'll be open until Coach Capel concludes his press conference up here, which should run from 2:40 to 3 o'clock. So we'll start up here in a couple minutes. Okay, we're about ready to start with Coach Capel.
All right, we'll start with questions.
Okay, questions will be here at 20 minutes with Coach Capel. First question, fourth row.
Jim Hammett, PantherLair.com. Coach, I wanted to ask about Nelly Cummings in that sequence after halftime where he comes up with 2 big buckets. I think he had 11 of his 13 points in the second half. What's his demeanor been like in these 2 tournament games?
Well, Nelly's very confident. He probably has the most experience in the NCAA tournament of anyone on our team. And he's always played well in the tournament. If you look back at his time in Colgate, in the games that they played in the NCAA tournament, he played very well. Nelly's a really confident young man. We have a lot of confidence in him. We know that he can go on some spurts where he can put the ball in the basket. He's done that all year, and we have a lot of confidence in him to do that.
To our right.
Josh Graham, WSJS. You obviously played FDU, and they upset Purdue last night. That's now 2 16 seeds in 5 tournaments that have won, and previously it hadn't happened before. 3 straight tournaments, we've seen a 15 seed beat a 2. Do you have a theory on why we're seeing more upsets by some of these lower seeds in recent years?
I just think there's more parity in college basketball. I think you're going to continue to see that with guys transferring, with these teams being older, and I just think the parity in college basketball is so much greater than it was maybe 10 years ago.
Chris Carter, Pittsburgh Post-Gazette. Jeff, you guys have been a team that's kind of been able to morph the way you play to your opponents, and you kind of did that with the last 2 teams. But this Xavier team is one of the best 3-point shooting teams in the country. What are the challenges you guys have to lock in on to be ready for them?
Yeah, well, this is a completely different style than we've played the last 2 games. Both teams we've played, Mississippi State and Iowa State, have been very, very good defensively and not as good offensively. This is a different level. Xavier is good defensively, but they're really good offensively. And so our mindset has to change. Our game plan will change, and we have to be able to go out and execute it against a really, really talented team.
Back of the room.
Jeff, Corey Christen, DK Pittsburgh Sports. With the way Guillermo has played throughout this week, Mississippi State and Iowa State, does that make things at least a little bit more challenging in terms of Federico's knee injury and him coming back from that and maybe divvying up the minutes and even going as far as to deciding who's going to start between the 2?
I don't think it makes it challenging, not at all. I mean, one of the great things about our group, and especially those 2 guys, is that they're probably each other's biggest cheerleader. And so I don't think it's a challenge or an issue at all.
Back left, all the way in the back.
Alex Randall, Pitt Radio. Jeff, you talked about how Xavier has a lot of defensive ability, but perhaps even more on offense. Obviously, that's going to impact you on the defensive end. Does that impact how your team looks at offense as well in a tournament where you've scored less than your season average the first 2 games?
Yeah, well, the first 2 teams we've played, they've been really, really physical defensively. And their ball screen coverages have been very, very aggressive. In watching tape of Xavier, they're really good defensively, but it's very different. They haven't played with the same physicality, at least I haven't seen on tape. They may do that tomorrow. They're very physical, but it's different. Their ball screen coverage is very different. You know, I think they're at their best, Xavier, when they're forcing turnovers and getting out in transition. They are a dynamic transition offensive team, whether you scored off of missed shots and especially off of turnovers. So it's going to be imperative for us to really value the basketball and make sure we're getting quality shots every time.
Front left.
Jerry DePaul, Pittsburgh. Jeff, can you talk about a little bit about the process of recruiting the twins from the outset? And when did you first start to be able to tell them apart?
The process of recruiting them, that really started with Tim O'Toole going down to IMG. We heard about him. He went down there and saw him. thought they were good enough. And so that really started the process of our recruitment. That probably happened in the fall or early winter of last year. And that started the communication with them. They came on their official visit after the season was over with. And I'll be honest with you, probably in all of my years of being involved in this as a head coach or an assistant coach, it's right up there with the greatest official visit I've ever been a part of. It was the twins, their families, their family, their mom and dad, and their spouses. The mom and dad are not together, but man, they're like spouses, their new spouses are best friends. I mean, it was unbelievable. It was really great, and just the energy was so positive. And when they came here, they went, once they left our place, they actually went to separate places to go visit some other schools separately. I think we were one of the few schools that was recruiting them together. And then fortunately, we were able to get them. But that what started the process. And to be honest with you, I can't tell them apart. Here's the way I can tell them apart. In practice, one of them wears yellow shoes, one of them wears white. And then off the court, Guillermo has an earring, Jorge doesn't. It's the only way I can tell them apart.
Back of the room.
I don't know if I could follow that up with any question that would make this work, but I'll try. Jeff, Coach Miller, obviously former Pitt player, spent really good seasons playing for tournament teams in the late 80s, early 90s at Pitt. I mean, I was just curious what the relationship is between you and him. And when you look back at those 80s and 90s teams, you know, what stands out to you about Coach Miller as a player when you saw him play at Pitt?
Yeah, well, I remember Sean as a player when he played at Pitt. I remember, if I'm not mistaken, and some of you, from around Pittsburgh probably know this better than me, I think Sean was like on, as a young kid on high school with dribbling and ball handling and things like that. Obviously, he comes from an outstanding basketball family with his father being a great coach in the Pittsburgh area. And it was a big deal when Sean went to Pitt. He was a 4-year starter, really, really good player. Got the assist on the most famous play ever at University of Pittsburgh and one of the greatest plays ever in college basketball history. He's a Pitt man, and he's been an outstanding coach. I remember him as an assistant coach at NC State when I played for Herb Sendek. You knew then, just watching him on the sideline, watching the passion and the fiery demeanor that he had, and you knew that he was destined to be a really good coach. And he's done that at every place that he's been. He's been an outstanding coach.
Back of the room.
Richie Schmahowski, the Pitt News. Coach, I'm just curious a little bit on the preparation that goes into March Madness games specifically because there's so little time in between games. How do you sort of expedite the process of preparing for a team? And are there any other teams that you can use that you've played this year that would sort of compare similarly to the way that Xavier does?
Yeah, well, how we go about the process is, when we played yesterday, before our game, Xavier and Kennesaw State played, we've already divided that up where 2 assistants are there live scouting the game. One of them has already been watching Xavier. The other one's already been watching Kennesaw. So whoever wins, we already have a good feel. They already have a good feel. I didn't watch any. I watched some of the game sitting back there waiting for our game. And then last night, once we won, then we immediately started the preparation. We get back as a staff, we get together and we start talking about Xavier. We start watching. There's a preview already for me where I can get a feel for them, where they've cut up some edits, some tapes, what they like to do offensively, what they like to do defensively, what are their strengths, what are some areas perhaps we could attack or we should try to attack. I spent a lot of time last night, early morning, watching games, making my notes, which I always do. Watched them again this morning. We met last night as a team. We gave them a preview of them. We met this morning. We went over scouting, went over personnel. We'll go out here and practice, for a little bit. We'll get together again tonight to try to finalize our game plan since we're at noon tomorrow. It's an early game, so it'll be an early morning where we'll get up, we'll walk through some stuff in the morning and then get over here and play. And as far as look, I don't like to compare, man. I don't, I heard so much before we played Iowa State that we were like Baylor. I don't like to do that. I don't like to compare other teams to other teams or someone we played. Xavier is Xavier. They are really good. They've had an outstanding season, and they've earned the right to be in this position, to be a 3 seed. I mean, they're a really good basketball team, and it's going to be a big-time challenge for us.
Back of the room.
Alex Randall, Pitt Radio. Coach, I asked the players a little bit ago about the off-the-court connection that this team shares. I believe it was Blake that credited the coaching staff with cultivating a lot of that closeness. How can you, what can you tell us about the way this team has gelled, especially considering a lot of these guys are new to each other at the start of the year?
Well, I think the main thing is that it happened organically. I don't know what we did as a coaching staff different from what we've done or attempted to do in previous years, and that's just being completely honest. We have some guys that are a little bit older that are over themselves. Our guys have egos, but they don't have ego problems. Like, they believe in who they are, and I think the pieces just fit, and I think it all happened organically. I think once we got everyone together, they started to see how the pieces fit, and the relationships just happened. We talked about the same things we've talked about from the first day I took over the job, is be a really good teammate, care about someone other than yourself, appreciate what we have. All of those things, it's really resounded with these guys. And I think it's because the maturity that we have and because the pieces just fit.
Sure, right?
Especially since your alma mater is about to tip in the next few minutes, I'm just curious, how much of the tournament, when you're coaching in it, do you get to see on practice days or even on game days as things are going on? And related to Duke, haven't had a chance to catch you since John won last week in Greensboro. How satisfying is it to see Coach step away and somebody win an ACC championship and also win an NCAA tournament game a couple days ago?
Well, as far as watching the games, I mean, I'll watch bits and pieces. I'll normally have it on as I'm watching tape. And normally when I'm watching film of our opponent, I normally have the volume down on that. And I'll have the game on in the background. And if it sounds like it's getting exciting, I'll take a peek. Last night I watched the Fairleigh Dickinson as that happened against Purdue. I watched some of that, especially down the stretch. I actually shut my computer down, just closed it just to watch some of that. But my focus is on our team. That's it. I'm trying to help our guys, put us in the best position for us to have success. As far as Duke, look, I'm happy for them. They're running their own race. John's done an incredible job this year, and I wish them luck.
Back of the room.
Amanda Godsey, Johnstown Tribune Democrat. Jeff, I heard Nelly last night in his post-game interview mention the phrase humble and hungry, and then I saw it in the whiteboard on the locker room. It said humble and hungry, 1-0. I asked the team about it today, and they all credited you with having that mantra and keeping them even-keeled. And how important do you think it's been to just have that steady state through the highs and the lows of the season?
I think it's really, really important. And I think that's an area where perhaps I've grown as a coach, and I've gotten maybe a little bit better with that. I remember my dad used to always say the highs can't be too high, the lows are never as low as you think they are. It's somewhere right in the middle. And as I've gotten older, I think I understand that a little bit better. Our guys have done an incredible job of that. The leadership on our team has done an incredible job of that. We'll be in timeouts and things will be hectic, and I hear them saying, let's get back to neutral. Let's get back to neutral. And the theme we've had all year is just try to be 1-0. Not to look ahead, not look behind us, but concentrate on the next step, what's right in front of us. And our guys have done a pretty good job of that.
Chris Carter, Post-Gazette. Jeff, Jamarius was just telling us he feels that you guys haven't played your best game yet. But, both Blake, him, and Nike all said versatility is important in being able to change your style of play. But they talked about they haven't had the game where they've shot the lights out from three-pointers the way you guys have in your best wins. How do you guys key in an opportunity? What does it say about you guys that you have won without that so far?
Yeah, well, I think it shows the resiliency and the toughness of our team. I was asked a question at halftime of the Mississippi State game. You know, we made 8 threes in the first half, and how do you win if you don't make threes in the second half? And my answer was, I don't want to think about it. You know, hopefully we make 3, but we didn't. We made 1, but we were still able to find a way to win. I think our league helped prepare us for that. Again, playing against all the different styles that we faced, I think it helped us for that. And just going through a season when you're resilient, you're tough, you're together, you're able to adapt and figure out different ways, and this team has been able to do that all year.
Back of the room.
Jeff, you've at times called Nike a 6th starter, and obviously he's won the 6th Man of the Year award for the ACC, but how do you see his game evolving, not just from the standpoint of being able to come off the bench and provide instant offense, but from being more a complete basketball player throughout this stretch run?
Yeah, well, I think he's done probably an even better job defensively. I think he rebounds well. He's able to attack, obviously, his scoring, but I just think his game has become more well-rounded throughout the years he's been there with us. I think he understands the impact he can have besides just scoring. And that's growth. That's growth as a player. That's accepting, you know, your role. That's accepting and just learning about the game. Just learning about the game of basketball. So many young people think you have to have the ball in order to be able to have impact. The reality is, in a 40-minute game, even the best player probably doesn't have, if you think about how much time you actually have the basketball in your hand, it's not that much. But there's so many different ways you can impact the game. If you cut hard, that can impact the game. If you screen hard, if you talk, if you don't get screened, if you help. I mean, just all these different things. And I think over time, Nike has understood and learned those different facets about the game.
We have about 2 more minutes. Next question.
Chris Carter, Post-Gazette. Jeff, I know you talked about the preparation process, especially for Xavier. Greg's a guy who's played Xavier a lot. How much did he contribute, or how much did he offer as far as what you guys have been talking about since your win, and what's he like and how he embraces your scouting reports and helps you guys prepare?
Well, Greg's mature. He's been around, so he's able, like Nelly, like JB, those guys understand the importance of scouting personnel and things like that. You know, it's different. He's played Xavier, but he hadn't played Sean Miller's Xavier. And so it's different. I think their style of play, the things that they do are very different from the previous coaching staff that Greg played against.
Last question, back of the room.
Jeff, Corey, Chris, and DK, Pittsburgh Sports. The fan support in Dayton was tremendous. You talked about that after, but the fans were able to travel again for yesterday's game, and they'll certainly be here again tomorrow. Just what was that like, having that kind of support in an arena that you're also familiar with playing in?
Yeah, it was awesome. I mean, it really was. Our fans have been outstanding all season long, especially, you know, after Christmas, once we got back, once the students got back. I think there has been an unbelievable connection all year with this team and the fans, the students, in the city of Pittsburgh. I think there's been a great connection. It's been really cool to see. We are grateful for it. We're going to need them tomorrow, and hopefully they show out in droves.
Thanks, Jeff. We'll see you tomorrow.
Good job.
Yeah.
He's